In Lothlorien, Book 2, Chapter 6 of the Fellowship of the Ring, the remaining members of the Fellowship enter the ancient forest of Lothlorien, where they encounter the enigmatic Lady Galadriel and the wise elf Lord Celeborn. The Fellowship is greeted with suspicion and caution by the elves of Lothlorien, who are wary of outsiders and their intentions. However, after passing a series of tests, the Fellowship is allowed to stay and rest in Lothlorien. During their time in Lothlorien, the Fellowship experiences a respite from their journey, and the magical, otherworldly beauty of the forest and its inhabitants takes hold of them. Galadriel offers her help to the Fellowship and allows them to look into her mirror, which shows them visions of their past, present, and possible futures. Frodo, in particular, is plagued by the burden of the ring and his fear of failing in his mission. Galadriel offers him her understanding and counsel and reveals to him that she also possesses one of the 3 elven rings of power, which were created to help protect Middle-earth from the darkness of Sauron. As the Fellowship prepares to leave Lothlorien, Galadriel and Celeborn provide them with gifts and blessings, including boats to help them navigate the great river Anduin. They also warn the Fellowship of the dangers that lie ahead, including the treacherous paths of the dead, which they must cross in order to reach their ultimate goal of Mount Doom in Mordor. Despite the aid of the elves of Lothlorien, the Fellowship is acutely aware of the dangers they face and the difficult journey ahead. As they set off down the great river Anduin, they are beset by new challenges and must rely on their courage and strength to persevere. In the Mirror of Galadriel, Sam and Frodo make their way to Lothlorien with the aid of the elf Gildor and meet Lady Galadriel and Lord Celeborn, the rulers of the realm. After some time, Galadriel takes Frodo to the Mirror of Galadriel to show him visions of possible futures. Frodo sees a terrible vision of the power of the ring and the destruction it could bring, as well as visions of his friends and loved ones in danger. Galadriel then offers Frodo a choice: he can give her the ring, and she will use it to overthrow Sauron and restore peace to Middle-earth, or he can continue on his quest to destroy the ring. Frodo refuses to give up the ring, but Galadriel warns him that the ring will ultimately consume him if he continues to carry it. Meanwhile, Sam meets with the elf prince Legolas and the dwarf Gimli, and the 3 form an unlikely friendship. Galadriel also gives the travelers gifts, including a special elven rope that will come in handy on their journey. As the travelers prepare to leave Lothlorien, Galadriel gives Frodo and Sam a small boat to aid them in their journey down the river Anduin. She also warns them that they will face great danger ahead, and that they must trust in each other and their companions to succeed. The chapter ends with the travelers departing Lothlorien and continuing on their journey, with the weight of the ring and the fate of Middle-earth heavy on their minds. In Farewell to Lorien, the Fellowship prepares to leave the elven realm of Lothlorien. Galadriel and Celeborn, the leaders of the realm, gift the Fellowship with new gear and provide guidance for their journey. Galadriel meets with each member of the Fellowship privately, imparting wisdom and guidance. When she meets with Frodo, she shows him a vision in the Mirror of Galadriel, in which she reveals that he was chosen to bear the ring because of his strength and the purity of his heart. She also warns him of the danger of Boromir, who has grown increasingly obsessed with the ring's power. Meanwhile, the rest of the Fellowship is given gifts by Celeborn, including boats to travel down the great river Anduin. Legolas receives a new bow and arrows, while Gimli is gifted 3 strands of Galadriel's hair. Boromir receives a belt and a horn, while Aragorn is gifted a sheath for his sword. As the Fellowship prepares to leave, Galadriel tells them that their journey will be difficult and that they will face many dangers. She also warns them that the fate of the ring will determine the fate of all Middle-earth. After bidding farewell to the elves, the Fellowship sets off down the Anduin River towards their next destination. In the Great River, the 9th chapter of Book 2 in the Fellowship of the Ring, the members of the Fellowship continue their journey down the river Anduin. They are now in the 2nd month of their journey and have traveled a great distance from their starting point. As they travel, they pass the Argonath, 2 enormous statues of Isildur and Anarion that mark the northern boundary of Gondor. The sight of the statues fills the hobbits with awe and fear, as they realize the magnitude of the task that lies before them. As they continue downstream, they realize that they are being followed by a group of orcs in boats. Boromir is eager to engage them in battle, but Aragorn persuades him to hold back, as they are heavily outnumbered. Instead, they push on down the river, trying to put as much distance between themselves and the pursuing orcs as possible. As night falls, the Fellowship pulls their boats to the riverbank and makes camp. Frodo, feeling uneasy, decides to take the first watch. He is approached by Boromir, who tries to persuade him to use the ring as a weapon against Sauron. Frodo, however, knows that the ring's power is too great for him to wield and that it would only bring destruction and evil. The next day, the Fellowship passes through the rapids of Sarngabir, where they lose one of their boats and several of their possessions. The orcs, who have been closing in on them, are now within striking distance, and the Fellowship must prepare for a possible attack. They manage to make it through the rapids and are relieved to find that the orcs have been delayed by their pursuit. As they continue down the river, they begin to see the influence of the enemy in the form of a shadow over the land. They also encounter a group of strange men who are distrustful of the Fellowship and warn them of danger ahead. Finally, after many days of travel, the Fellowship reaches the Falls of Rauros, where the river splits into two. They must decide which path to take, as their journey is now at a crossroads. Frodo, feeling the weight of the ring's burden, decides to take the perilous path alone, accompanied only by Sam. The rest of the Fellowship must continue on without them, heading south toward Gondor. As Frodo and Sam set out on their own, the rest of the Fellowship watches them go, filled with sorrow and uncertainty. Their journey has become even more dangerous and uncertain, and the fate of Middle-earth rests on their success. In The Breaking of the Fellowship, the final chapter of Book 2 of The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien, the Fellowship's journey comes to a tragic end. The chapter opens with Frodo and Sam departing from the rest of the group to continue the quest on their own. Boromir, consumed by the power of the ring, attempts to take it from Frodo, leading to a fierce battle. However, Frodo manages to escape and decides to continue the journey alone, believing that it's too dangerous to bring others with him. Sam, loyal to Frodo, insists on joining him, and together they set off on their own towards Mordor. Meanwhile, Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli pursue the orc captors who have taken Merry and Pippin. They track them to the shores of the Anduin River, where they find evidence of a struggle and assume that the orcs have killed the hobbits. Overwhelmed with grief and anger, the trio decides to follow the orcs deeper into the forest. As the chapter progresses, the narration shifts between Frodo and Sam's journey and the pursuit of the orcs by Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli. Frodo and Sam struggle through the difficult terrain of Emyn Muil, and Frodo's despair grows as he realizes the enormity of the task ahead of them. Meanwhile, the three hunters follow the trail of the orcs until they encounter a group of Rohirrim, who inform them that they have found Pippin's elven brooch. The chapter reaches its climax as Frodo and Sam encounter Gollum, who has been following them. Gollum initially tries to trick the hobbits, but eventually reveals that he knows a way into Mordor. Frodo and Sam reluctantly agree to take Gollum as their guide, hoping that he will be of some use. In the end, the chapter concludes with the realization that the Fellowship has been broken and that each member must now face their own trials and tribulations. The reader is left with a sense of uncertainty and impending danger as the hobbits continue their journey into Mordor, and the others pursue the orcs into unknown territory. The fate of Middle-earth hangs in the balance, and it is unclear if anyone will survive the journey ahead.